American soccer is weird. Our favorite segment here on Morning Kickaround. It seems to keep coming up. Weird things happen in American soccer. So round out the week. First shout out, brand new member, Penzone iSports. Thank you so much for becoming our latest member. Joining the MK Ultras.
What did you say? Penzone iSports? Is that? Is that how you say that? Is that
now that you pointed it out, it's clearly not right. You know, I'm in the Macintosh world. Apparently, everything's an I something or other. But Penzone awesome. Sports, thank you so much for being our new member. But back to the topic at hand. American soccer is weird, and some folks have probably wanted to. Hey, Tulsa Mario, what up? Some folks have maybe considered suing their team for lack of results or effort, but someone has actually done so. Courtesy Stephen Bank put this up a couple days ago, saying that someone has filed a complaint against United States Soccer, claiming that the United States women's national team didn't try to win the She Believes Cup, and he is filing a complaint for monetary restoration or remuneration, however you want to say it, because the U.S. women's national team, in this fan's perception, didn't try to win the competition.
This is absolutely wild to me. Now, this is not the first time a fan has sued over performance, right? With a sport. I'm sure this has happened before. I don't remember specifically, but I'm positive in this very litigious society in which we live, Rob, that some American sports fan has been like, that team, they didn't care enough, and I, as a consumer, I'm being defrauded, and I'm suing them for damages. I also can't imagine anyone's ever won one of these. So I don't get the motivation here. A complaint was filed against U.S. Soccer for defrauding the U.S. government. Defrauding the government.
So this is saying to win. The Soccer Federation is stealing money from the government because they don't try hard enough?
I don't know. Stephen goes on. The complainant seeks an injunction against U.S. Soccer appearing on TV. They don't want U.S. Soccer on TV anymore. And excluded from wagering, and requests almost $100 million in damages for wrongful and intentional and repeated violation of the False Claims Act.
This is harsh. I gotta say, regardless of the the legal ramifications, but that's harsh to say that the women didn't even try. I mean, obviously the result didn't go their way, but to say that they're like defrauding people based on that performance is pretty harsh.
Is this I would imagine this is based on player selection, right? This has to be based on the idea that Emma Hayes didn't didn't use the absolute best player she could have, or and obviously that's in the eye of the beholder, right? That's a subjective thing. But perhaps Michael Bucksbaum, and by the way, that's his name. It says it right there, the plaintiff. And I have tried to find out which Michael Bucksbaum is behind this, and there are several out there, and I can't seem to figure out who it might be. And I don't want to randomly message Michael Bucksbaums and be like, did you file a lawsuit against U.S. Soccer for $100 million in damages? But I do want to talk to this person. I want to know what's going on here. Okay, let's look at this relief again. And Steven's got the basics there. But soccer games to be suspended from broadcast distribution platforms pending the litigation of this complaint and request for injunction. They want the U.S. Soccer Federation to be excluded from wagering pending the litigation of this complaint and the request. This sounds like somebody who lost a bet. Somebody's salty that they lost a bet. They put money on the U.S. to beat Japan. They didn't beat Japan. They lost their money, and now they're suing over it. He also wants $5.5 million for the False Claims Act. Also, $93,931,548 for wrongful and intentional and repeated violations of the False Claims Act. They want U.S. Soccer he wants U.S. Soccer to disclose full and complete financial information to him for revenue, salaries, expenses, health insurance, and post-employment lifestyle benefits. Also asks that U.S. Soccer refrain from accepting foreign money for playing the game of world football. Is that like a legal term? World football, capitalized that way? It doesn't say soccer. It says world football. Why? Why does it say world football, Rob?
Maybe that sounds like a lawyer getting involved. It's like, we don't want to get it confused here when they're breaking it down. And when they say football, it's like, this has nothing to do with the NFL. Throw it out of court. I'm not sure if that's a legal term at all, but I do find some comments funny. It seems to be a common thread about their team when they're underperforming. Luke Zagorski in the chat calling his attorney, Manchester United have a lot to answer for, and similar sentiment. Mike, can I sue Jay Sugarman? Of course, in the top chair at Philadelphia Union. If I'd say it's hard to say. Lawsuits are funny. It's taken seriously and what is a frivolous thing. Like this could be an absolute nothing burger that's like Judge Reed goes, get out of town,
It is.
But
it is.
So say there's a limited possibility that this is true, but if this does go ahead and there's even a court hearing, that could change the way that sports are perceived and how coaches pick their team. If like there's some sort of precedent for being sued and being held accountable for team selection.
I mean, we don't want this can of worms opened. We don't.
Hey, we're into the era of opening a Pandora's box on things that we don't want to let out.
I know.
So why not this?
And look, obviously soccer, and I'm not claiming anything about the U.S. women's national team or U.S. soccer, but obviously soccer as a whole has had a match fixing problem. It has happened in a lot of places. It happened in Canada. Go read up on the Canadian match fixing story because that was a wild thing that happened. If you are betting, well, first of all, we don't have to talk about the morality of gambling, do we? Does that have to come into this conversation?
No, I mean, I feel like everyone knows the evils of it.
Apparently, Michael Bucksbaum was not willing to accept the repercussions of placing money on a game, if that's indeed what's happening here. And again, relief number 1, suspended from broadcast. Relief number 2, excluded from wagering pending litigation of this complaint. I mean, if you have a legitimate concern that match fixing happened and there's an investigation, I suppose that you could then be in a position where you should get damages for that. But if we're just suing teams because they don't live up to our expectations, man, we will be swimming in lawsuits. And I guess, it's at one point, does a judge have to decide, well, it's your fault for rooting for the Cleveland Browns, not the team's fault for being bad. That's who they are. What are you talking about? You made this bargain. I'm tossing this lawsuit out.
All right. So bringing it to this summer, Angel Alarcon.
Angel Alarcon. What's up on it?
So he brings up the Gold Cup. I mean, that's a good example. So Gold Cup doesn't always bring the A team. This year, it's a little bit different with the World Cup looming and the current situation with the team.
Yeah.
If there's any progress with this legal complaint, maybe that affects the Gold Cup.
I would also say that you are not a fan if you sue your team. You're not a fan. Okay, you're not a supporter. You are in it for the wrong reasons. Now, I'm not saying you give your team a pass. I'm not saying that you don't get upset when they're bad or they make mistakes or when the leadership is poor or they feel incompetent or they sign the wrong player or they draft the wrong player. Last night was kind of wild watching all that stuff happen in Green Bay and people responding to draft picks. Are the Jets fans happy this year? I can't remember. I don't. Is that? It's always tough to tell.
Without specific knowledge, I would shade towards no because that's typically their situation. Their demeanor is typically not happy.
Yeah. If you are a normal sports fan, you get mad when your team stinks. You stop buying tickets. You stop buying gear until they get better. Then you jump right back in because we are addicts with our teams. Right. What is the line from Godfather 3? I thought I was out, but then they pulled me back in. That's sports. That's what fandom is about. Suing your team indicates it's not actually your team because now you think of them as an adversary, as an enemy rather than as part of who you are.
Angus in the chat. Remember, thank you, Angus. Maybe this can be brought to injury law and treat this case like a mental illness. And that's just funny there. And then Mike with another one. I'm an abusive relationship with my teams.
Yeah, aren't we all?
People sue people they've had relationships with. So, blurring that line.
I will also say, I judge you I judge you harshly if all of your teams are good and you're just loving everything with your sports fandom. If you are one of those people, because to me that indicates that you have chosen to jump on bandwagons and glory hunt, and you're not actually, because maybe we have one team that's good. I got I got a football team that's good, or I got a baseball team that's good. But there's always got to be a bad team in your portfolio. Unless you're soccer only, in which case, okay, maybe the soccer only people are like, well, my Premier League team is good, but my Italian team stinks, or my Spanish club is going through a terrible time, or my Mexican team, or my MLS team, or whatever. Because we also do that, right? Because soccer lets us do that in ways other sports don't.
Yeah, across all the sports, I've definitely have my mix of absolutely miserable teams. I mean, I'm from the Detroit area, so like I've rooted for the Lions my whole life, so I definitely know what the bottom of the barrel is. But I'm also a Liverpool supporter, so I know what winning's like. And hey, are you gonna do a guard of honor on Monday if things go well for me on Sunday? Are you gonna do something?
We will find a way to fetch you on Monday if it happens, which it will. It's going to happen. You'll be champions on Monday.
But for those who haven't had the team win, it's winning it all. It almost just seems like the way everything should play out. Like, oh yeah, this is just, winning is the correct way for this passage of play to happen out. And then so losing seems so much worse than the winning seems good, if that makes any sense. Like, yeah, of course, that's my team. They should win. It's great. They went the way it should be, but losing is so heartbreaking and devastating. It builds exactly what this is. Losing builds character. All right, not to sound too dad on this show. Losing builds character. I don't think that your experience as a sports fan can be as rich as possible unless you go through painful times before the glory comes. If you're a 15-year-old from Boston, what do you know about anything, kid?
Exactly. Yeah. And I, as a Red Sox fan, I definitely think that that's interesting, that there are generations of Red Sox fans who went through so many years of pain to have that cathartic moment in 2004. And I was going bonkers like every other Red Sox fan. And now there are Boston people, because of the Patriots and the Red Sox and the Celtics. Have the Bruins won one since 2000? I don't know. It's annoying now. It's annoying that
Boston. I mean, until very recently, this is the first year that Boston and Detroit didn't make the playoffs since like 1967 or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's the run of good times. You need a little pain every now and then. You need to suffer in order to have, because it's in relief, right? Winning is in relief of losing. You can't have one without the other, and you can't enjoy the winning and have that full expression of just absolute joy that comes with a championship or a trophy, unless you've had those difficult times.
And that should do it for our Friday episode of Morning Kick Around. Thank you, everyone, for joining. A good chat today. If you haven't hit subscribe already, do so now. Morning Kick Around on YouTube.com. The more subscriptions and memberships, the bigger this show can get, the richer the conversation, and adds to sustainability. And you've contributed to trying to make this one of the center points of the American soccer conversation. As the popularity grows, I don't know if the media is necessarily following along, so we're trying to fill that void.
Well, we're going to talk. We got some things in the can coming up next week. Should be really good. But we've been talking about the media situation, and I am lucky enough to be in a position to talk about soccer media in America, having worked in it and still working in it, and maybe having one of the few full-time jobs in American soccer. And I don't want, first of all, I don't want to take that for granted. And because I don't want to take it for granted, I want to talk about where we are. And I don't know that we're going to change anything immediately, but maybe we can open up that conversation about where we are with a World Cup coming to America in like a year.
Follow us along on social media at MKickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky platforms. You can also write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com. We love to hear from marketers, but we love to hear from the MK Ultras even more. So write us a note over there.
Yeah, you need to help break up those "your SEO is terrible" emails that we get. Send us an email.
Yeah, definitely. I love to get those. And then you can also take us in your pocket, or you can support us on coffee.com/morning kick around. There is exclusive content there, and we've been receiving some very welcome and generous donations. You can do a one-time, regularly scheduled, small as $5 and as large as you can get. Shout out to those supporting over there. And you can take us in your pocket as a podcast. Search Morning Kick Around on your favorite podcast platform. All right. Any last words? I feel like our Friday has been thoroughly kicked. And I think my homework for the weekend is to properly communicate time zones to guests. So my apologies to Duncan Riddle. We will get you onto the show next week. Apologies. Yeah. I don't know how time zones work, apparently, but
I will also say, new members, make sure you check the posts. I'll maybe repost it again. We got a Discord for the MK Ultras. Jump into the Discord, be part of that conversation.
All right. Until Monday, when we return, everybody, enjoy your soccer.